Welcome back to Food Prep Guide. So you bought a big container of oats thinking you'd eat oatmeal every morning, and now it's been sitting there in your pantry for 3 months. Or maybe you do eat oats all the time, but things are getting a little boring. I get it, plain oatmeal gets old fast, but oats are basically this Swiss Army knife of your kitchen. In the next few minutes, I'm going to show you 6 completely different ways to use oats that'll make you excited to open that container again. We're talking everything from grab and go breakfast solutions to desserts that don't taste like health food punishment and energy boosting snacks on the go. Let's jump right in with number one, oat flour pancakes. First, we're going to be making pancakes that are going to turn the oats into flour and make fluffy, satisfying pancakes that are also gluten free. Now, I will stop right here and say don't bite into these pancakes picturing that fluffy buttermilk traditional wheat flour pancake because this is gluten free and oats do give it a different texture. But I will say that my 3 children and I will choose these pancakes even if we do have our normal buttermilk pancake mix on the shelf because they are filling, they're a good bit healthier, and it's just a great option when we're wanting to kind of lower our gluten intake even though we don't have to be gluten free. So the best part about this recipe is you probably have everything you need right now. All you need is oats, and I'm going to show you how to turn them into flour in about 30 seconds. Just throw your oats in a blender or food processor and pulse until they turn into a fine powder, and that's it. You now have oat flour. It's a single ingredient flour, which is great. It's cheaper than buying it pre-made, and it tastes fresher too. So here's the recipe. 2 cups of oat flour, 2 teaspoons of baking powder, a quarter teaspoon of salt, 1 tablespoon of sugar, 2 eggs, 1 cup of milk, 2 teaspoons of lemon juice, and a splash of vanilla extract. Now, these pancakes have a really nice, nutty flavor that regular flour just can't match. Plus, like I mentioned before, they're more filling, so you're not going to be hungry again in an hour. And because of all the syrups and fruit butters and jams that we make and can every year, everyone gets to choose their own topping, and it doesn't add anything to my grocery bill. Speaking of keeping my grocery budget low, that's the beauty of stocking pantry staples like oats in bulk and working them into your regular rotation. If you'd like help building your food storage, we do have a free 1-year food storage plan where we break down a year's worth of shelf-stable food into week-by-week purchases that won't break the bank. If you want to grab that, comment food storage below and I'll send you the link in the comments so you don't have to go fishing for it in the description box. Okay, let's move on to recipe number 2, and it is overnight oats. Now, I know some of you might be thinking, I've tried overnight oats before and they're mushy and weird. I used to think the same thing until I figured out the right ratio. The key is not using too much liquid. Most recipes call for a good bit of liquid, like milk or yogurt, but you end up with what I felt was an oat soup. And I wanted something thicker and creamier and not so watery. So here's the recipe if you would like that kind of texture. For a single serving, you'll need half a cup of oats, half a cup of milk, this can be any type, almond, coconut, regular, and 1 tablespoon of chia seeds. That's your base. And then you're going to mix in about 2 tablespoons of whatever flavor that you like. For instance, 2 tablespoons of strawberry jam for strawberry flavored oats. And quick tip here, homemade jam that doesn't fully set all the way works really great for flavoring overnight oats. We also like to do a chocolate peanut butter with 1 tablespoon of cocoa powder and 1 tablespoon of peanut butter. And then we sweeten it just a little bit with a few drops of liquid stevia. If you do not have stevia extract on hand, I highly recommend it. It is really gives you a sweet taste without any sugar. The beauty of overnight oats is that you can meal prep a jar per person in your family, like on a Sunday, and have breakfast sorted for the whole week. Also, another quick tip, if you want to top your oats with anything crunchy or crisp, like nuts or fresh fruit, wait to add those toppings right before you eat them because it will help keep them from getting soggy or like a stale-like texture. Okay, recipe number 3 is granola. Store-bought granola can be expensive when you have several people to feed and it's loaded with sugar a lot of times, or sugar alternatives like high fructose corn sugar. Making it yourself costs half as much and you can control exactly what's in it. This is also one of those recipes that makes your house smell incredible while it's baking. Okay, here's the recipe. 3.5 cups of rolled oats, 3.5 cups of Rice Krispies, 1.5 cups of chopped almonds or whatever nut that you would like, half a cup of coconut sugar. You can certainly use any sugar you like here. We just prefer coconut sugar. Half a cup of butter, which is 1 stick. Half a cup of coconut oil. Half a tablespoon of pumpkin pie spice. Alternatively, you can use cinnamon or any other spice you would like here. And half a teaspoon of salt. So preheat your oven with, or at 250 degrees Fahrenheit. Granola needs to cook low and slow to achieve that perfect crunch without burning. Go ahead and melt the fats in a small saucepan, then mix all the dry ingredients together in a large bowl. And once the fats are melted, pour it over the dry ingredients equally and stir thoroughly to ensure all of them are nice and coated with the fat mixture. Spread the granola onto a baking sheet or a glass pan and bake in a preheated oven for 2 hours. Set a timer to stir it every 20 minutes to ensure that it cooks evenly and you don't have any burning spots. Burnt granola is not good. But once the granola is nice and crispy, remove it from the oven and let it cool completely before you add any mix-ins if you want to. By mix-ins, I mean dried fruit, more chopped nuts, chocolate chips, anything like that. Wait till it's completely cooled so you don't have any issues with melting. And then store it in an airtight container in your fridge, and it'll keep for about 2 weeks. Any longer than that, and you'll start having issues because of the butter and coconut oil that's in there. Okay, recipe number 4 is your own homemade oatmeal packets. If you've been buying those little paper packets at the store, you're paying about 50 cents per serving for something that would cost you 10 cents per serving to make at home. Plus, making it yourself means you can customize the flavors however you want. No more being stuck with maple and brown sugar or apple cinnamon, which are great flavors, but there are a lot more flavors out there. And my favorite part about making it at home is that we can turn what is typically a breakfast that lacks in protein and pack it with protein, which I'll talk more about in just a second. But first, let me give you the base recipe. It is 5 cups of whole rolled oats, 1 cup of coconut sugar, again, use whatever sugar you like, 1 teaspoon of salt, and half a cup of milk powder. We do use whole milk powder, but you can use instant if you like. I feel like the whole milk powder really gives it some creaminess. So place the whole rolled oats into a food processor and process the oats until they're a finer grain consistency like what you see in instant oats. Alternatively, you can just start with instant oats. So in a large bowl, combine those processed oats with all of the other ingredients and mix thoroughly, and that's your base mixture. Now, this is ready to be flavored however you want and portioned however you want. For single servings, I like to add 1 cup of this base mixture to a pint jar. And then we can get into whatever flavorings you want, and you can do whatever you want here. But I did mention protein, so I wanted to give you a few ideas. We like to add a 1/4 cup of vanilla protein powder to our oat jars. And really, I mean, you could do any kind of flavored protein powder here that you want. The key is just to get the protein powder in there. But we like to use vanilla because it really complements whatever type of other mix-ins that we would like. Speaking of mix-ins, we like to flavor it with a little bit of pumpkin pie spice or a cinnamon, and then some sort of either dried fruit like cranberries or a freeze-dried powder, like a freeze-dried fruit powder like acai berries. I like to make a bunch of these at once and store them in mason jars in the pantry. When ready to cook, anyone can grab it off the shelf and dump a single jar into a pot, add 1.5 cups of water, and bring that to a boil. Once it's boiling, turn off the heat, place the lid on top, and let it sit for just 5 minutes, and that's typically ready to serve at that point. If it's not, just cook it a little bit longer. Okay, number 5 is peanut butter energy bites. These are amazing for when you need a snack that really gives you sustained energy instead of a sugar crash 30 minutes later. In the same vein, they're also a nice dessert that you don't have to feel too guilty about. Now, we make a batch of these, I'd say maybe twice a month or so. We store them in the freezer, so there's no rush to finish them off before they go bad, and they're just there when the craving strikes. So here's the recipe: 3 cups of rolled oats, 1 cup of peanut butter, 1 cup of flaxseed, 2/3 cup of honey, 2 teaspoons vanilla extract, and 1 cup chocolate chips. We often will use Lily's chocolate chips, which are sugar-free, dairy-free option if that's something that you need. So just mix it all together and roll into either balls or flatten them out into a pan and cut into squares. The oats give these substance and really help everything hold together. Without them, you just have like sweet peanut butter balls, which actually doesn't sound too terrible, but these are better. I discovered these right before the birth of my second baby when I was preparing quick snacks for the postpartum season that would hopefully give me energy, satisfy cravings, but not leave me feeling worse. And that's exactly what these accomplished. And they've been a treat in our house ever since. And it's actually funny because that second baby is now the one who makes these for our family. That's sweet. It just hit me. Okay, last but not least, number 6 is oatmeal cranberry cookies. These are what I make when the kiddos ask me for a sweet treat but don't want the typical like chocolate chip cookies. The oats make them chewy and give them a great texture, plus they're more filling than regular cookies, so you're less likely to eat half a batch in one sitting. Not that I'm speaking from experience or anything. Okay, here's the recipe. 1 1/4 cup flour, 1 teaspoon baking soda, half a teaspoon of salt, half a teaspoon of ground cinnamon, 3/4 cup brown sugar, half a cup of dried cranberries, half a cup of quick oats, 1 cup of semi-sweet or dark chocolate chips, 1 egg, 2/3 cup of softened butter, and 1 teaspoon vanilla extract. Now, before I get into making these cookies, I did want to mention that this is actually one of those meal prepped jars that we often keep on the shelf. You just store all of the dry ingredients in the jar, and then all you have to add is the butter and the egg when you go to cook it, and the vanilla extract. But it makes them whip up together all the faster, and it's just something that I can have sitting on the shelf, which is going to greatly decrease my chances of eating something or picking up something a lot less healthier from the grocery store. Okay, so to make the cookies, preheat your oven to 350 degrees Fahrenheit. Beat the softened butter with 1 egg and 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract, and then pour all the other ingredients in. If you've meal prepped ahead of time, you just grab that jar off your shelf and dump it in the bowl. Mix it all together and form your cookies. Bake for 12 minutes, and whatever you do, do not over bake these. Trust me, you will be sad. So these cookies are great, like I said, for meal prep. We do them in jars, but you could go ahead and make the dough in full and just freeze them in little balls and plop out a cookie on a sheet whenever the craving strikes. So, next time you're staring at that container of oats wondering what in the world to do with them, remember you have pancake batter, granola, cookie dough, instant breakfast, snacks all sitting right there waiting to happen. As you probably noticed, most of these recipes use basic pantry staples and no fancy equipment, so you likely have everything you need to make them. If you want my recommendation of what to try first, go for those peanut butter energy bites. And if you can't eat peanut butter, swap it out with almond butter or whatever your favorite alternative is. Sun butter is another good one. For a very quick time in my life, I had to be completely free of nuts, and sun butter was a good alternative for me that I was able to eat. So that's an option as well. Okay, y'all, that's all for today. Don't forget, if you would like that free 1 year food storage plan, comment food storage in the comments below, and I will send you the link to get download it. That's all for today. We'll see you next time. Bye.